Thanks so much. Thanks so much for your lovely welcome. Like I said, I'm Rebecca. Currently a senior security engineer at Everquote, believe it or not, which gives hope to all of you if a buck agent like me can become senior. So, I use they them pronouns. I quite like parrots, as you can probably tell. You can see, like, I was over at Tallinn, Estonia, a couple of weeks ago, and I found a parrot petting zoo, and I was just like living the dream. This talk is kind of like a personal interest of mine, because I actually used to mod Sims 2 back in the day, back in the good old times of the mid 2000s. Kids, get off my lawn. I don't have social media apart from LinkedIn, so if you want to send hate mail, send it there. So, and you'll notice I'm not very good at doing slides, but graphic design is truly my passion. I've made that joke so many times, I don't apologise. So, quick wee agenda today. We're going to talk about the quick history of the Sims franchise and the community, how these mods were compromised, and the community response and antivirus. So, quick wee timeline for the games if you're not familiar. So, as well as a couple of major players in the Sims community. So, let's go to 1989. When the Sims series was born with the release of SimCity. Malcious, who created SimCity, wanted to explore what a silly building game would be like. Hugely popular and helped to spawn a whole series of Sims games. I've listed them all. I feel like we would probably still be 45 minutes and we would still be talking. And I don't think you'd be interested in that, so let's not do that. Like, there's a couple of games like SimCity series, SimAnt, SimEarth. Oh, no. In 1999, a game focusing on people who live inside SimCity, knows that Sims was actually in development since 1991, when Will Wright, the man who came up with The Sims, lost his house in a wildfire and got inspired by rebuilding his house and rebuilding his life. It was officially announced in early 1999 via a trailer, including SimCity 3000, the best SimCity, so if you disagree, you're wrong, via a trailer, and excitement quickly grew for this new offering from Maxis. Fan sites were created to discuss The Sims, including The Sims Resource, and it was founded within this year. Remember this name, because it'll be very important later. Maxis encouraged this new community, as they've done for all the rest of their games, by releasing modding tools even before the game was released, which the community gladly embraced, and these fan sites hosted many downloads, mostly just like wallpapers and skins and stuff, but it was a start. Also in this Sims Resource was founded in this year. Also in this year, LiveJournal was founded, which would become a major hub for the Sims community in the mid-2000s. I had one, most people had one, it's a bit of a throwback. We then proceed on to Y2K, which when the world was supposed to end with the Y2K bug, and with the state of the world right now, it's maybe a bit of a shame that it didn't end. And a little game known The Sims has created, a little well-known game. We never heard from The Sims again. No, I'm joking. So this was the game that launched many expansion packs, and the Sims series, it's still going on to this day. 4 years later, The Sims 2 was released, changing from the original's isometric perspective to a fully 3D camera. Focused on playing a salary through generations by adding more life stages over the first game's 2.5 life stages and aging. This is, in fact, just as, or if not more popular than the first game. And modding community soon formed around it with Mod The Sims 2, not just Mod The Sims, was also created early in the same year for release. Much like the Sims Resource, it would become a major place for the community to upload their mods. And I have a note here that says, also the Sims game is the best, Sims 2 is the best game in the series, and no, I'm not biased because you mod for it. And if you disagree, you're wrong. And if you ask me the questions that, Rebecca, you're wrong, no. So soon after, in 2007, Tumblr was created, which would serve as one of the main hubs for the Sims community back in the early 2000s, and still is to this day. I had the LiveJournal, a Dream With, which is a fork of LiveJournal when it was bought by a Russian oligarch. Don't ask me about that. And Tumblr. And no, you cannot have the links. You don't want to read what I was writing when I was 14 or to my early 20s, and I don't either. I don't really remember those times. Thank you very much. Many good times were had with my totally legally acquired Photoshop and milkshake. Just for the record, I'd never say the high seats. But if you ask me at the after party, maybe I have. You never know. Moving on, the Sims series continued advance with the release of The Sims 3 in 2009, which focused on the world around The Sims, and Sims 4 in 2014, believe it or not, which served as a soft reboot and the main focus for today. You will also see here that at the very last entry of my timeline, I mentioned the incident, and no, it's not an excuse for me to find cool Art Nouveau paintings of Pandora's box. This is brought up in certain research about this, and I would like to describe it as opening its Pandora's box in regards to the malware potential Sims 4 had. Pandora's box is a Greek myth. Basically, the Swede all called Pandora opened this box and released all the bad things in the world. And really, the last thing in the box was a thing called hope, which, I have no hope, so it's okay. But we'll come back to this later. Like I said before, Maxis and EA have always been supportive of the modding community, helps keep the interest in the game alive, and even in Sims 4, they have creators making an impact for them, so they can rip you off more. They even release tools from the community for the game release, such as Homecrafter and Body Shop, to help create hype for the game for release, so it's basically free advertisement. The community soon grew, either by creating their own fan sites, uploading to mods hubs like Sims Force or Mod the Sims, or joining communities over the first live journal and then Tumblr. This support continued into the Sims 4 era. There's a very important change made with the release of Sims 4. It uses XML tuning to control game behavior. So, like, you tell your Tim to go, I don't know, sit in the toilet or something like that. That's controlled by XML. Modders, when they got the hands on it, they eventually created CS4 script files, which I'm going to build up here, which EN officially supported. And you'll never guess what TS4 script files is. I kind of noticed, like, my personal terminal background does not really gel well with that, my background, but hey, graphic design is still my passion. You might be wondering why I'm unzipping this, and can anyone tell me what files these are? And if you say Ruby, I swear to God. Yeah, it's Python. Compiled Python and regular old Python as well. So I just kind of like found a regular old mod of the Mod The Sims to show you this. As you can see, it's it's basically like a glorified zip file. It's easier to share with other creators and other people who want to download it. And here's an example of one of these contents of one of these Python files. It's not related to malware. I just kind of picked it up and I thought, it's a really good example. As you can see here, it doesn't really look much different from a regular old Python file you might encounter day to day. And since we now know that these are just regular old Python files, it's also important to know that you can do anything you can do with regular old Python and place it in a TS4 script file. It does not deal with just game behavior. So say, checking the file system, deleting files, creating files, downloading files, making requests out to the internet, just to random sites. Stuff like this can possibly, it's a bit benign on the surface, but can possibly be misused by an attacker. Now, most mod authors do not misuse this, I will say this now. If mod authors need to reach out to the internet, it's mostly tell the user, there's a new update out, please update your mods. Otherwise, I don't know, just don't, I guess. But I think it's important I mention this to remember that there is a potential for these features to be misused, as we can see in this next story we will then go on to. And also you can see Parrot, doing stuff. I will also note that EA has been very, very hands-off with the community, very historically and recently. The only thing they've really got involved with was when people were making abuse mods involving children and pets. That was when they got involved. But historically, EA has done nothing. I know, I'm surprised too. EA, the famously pair-loving company. I'm surprised. So, as I mentioned, the incident, I've kind of built this up here, because it's important to cover. I kind of like comparing it to Pandora's box. I think it's pretty similar. And also, it's a really nice painting as well. I hope you appreciate it. It basically opened the floodgates on what TS4 scripts files can do. And when I was doing my research for this talk, I was agreed in my view that this is important, and this kind of got swept under the rug. It originated as an argument between two modders, which from my time in the community is pretty common. I've involved in my own slap fights as well, so that's another reason why I don't want to relive those slap fights. However, this situation differs from the usual scrap fights that modders get involved into. This involved two modders called TurboDriver, who is very well known in the Sim security community for making SFW mods, and another individual known as Colonel Nutty, who will Thanks so much. My talk was not indeed that bad. It's okay, lads, we're back. So basically, Colonel Nutty, this guy, who was accused of allegedly making mods that enable abuse towards animals and children. Very illegal stuff. Colonel Nutty, in making these successful mods, actually took some of TurboDriver's code without permission. Sometimes it was pretty common to share code. Some modders can be a wee bit touchy about using their code. Like when I modded, I was like, yeah, just do whatever you want, just don't do anything illegal, and don't charge for it as well. But in fact, TurboDriver told him not to use their code because they were disgusted by what he was doing. Like, he's like, no, please don't make illegal stuff in my code. Thank you very much. And in retaliation, TurboDriver made a function within their mods that detected that any Colonel Nutty's distasteful mods within the same mod folder will replace functions that use mods shared, along with an empty function that did and returned nothing, essentially breaking those mods. And Colonel Nutty, as you can probably guess, was not very happy. He was like, whoa, why are you breaking my mods for? Like, that's not really nice. Even though I'm doing illegal stuff, but hey. Afterwards, and so he had a wee bit of a fit, and he revealed all this to the public to try and make TurboDriver look bad. And after this was returned to the public, TurboDriver apologised. It was never intention to create malware, even though they kind of did. Well, this incident was forgotten until one of the main malware incidents occurred in January 2024. In fact, it opened the floodgates to what's possible with the malicious potential of this scripting mods could have. I want to make the point that there should have been more attention paid to this. It was kind of swept under the rug until those malware incidents happened, and it was like, whoa, this is new. And it's like, no, this happened before, and we didn't pay attention, and now we're screwed. But hey, I think that's the life of security, am I right? So, now I know the prelude to this malware instance. I kind of want to go over like the typical Sims player profile, who are the people who are downloading these mods, these scripting mods in the first place, like who would an attacker try to go for? As you can see here, I've got a really good part representation of your typical Sims player. No, I'm joking. Mostly they're a casual gamer. They're interested in adding more behaviours to the game, I don't know, running a cult, or I don't know, making a farm. Personally, I'm quite like the farm, but just because I'm from Ballymena. Most Sim players usually use Windows, with a small percentage using Macs and an extremely small percentage using Linux. So that would be our target to our main target audience. And they're not very technically minded. I have fond memories of dealing with people who, if you gave them clear instructions on what to do, they wouldn't listen and be like, why does my thing not work? Again, insecurity. I'm used to this now. There's a reason why read the frickin' man. That's the polite way of saying it, right? It's a really popular saying among small offers in the Sims community. They just not very good at that. And also, they're not very security focused either. They use passwords all over the show, and yeah, it's not really fun. So that's now that we understand the main victims of any attacks. I'm going to have a wee talk about the attacks that happened. I found this image when I was looking up write-ups for this, and I love it. I want to use it for any write-ups I do. Like the Malware apocalypse. Like, I mean, yeah, it's a bit overkill, but I thought it was funny. So in January there are several instances of new malware. Sorry, one second. There has been now I bring this up. It has been instances before where malware has been bundled with downloads, but it's mostly in the downloading of them. Like some sites would try and make a wee bit extra money, would use dodgy link redirectors like ad.fly that would show you ads in return for a wee bit of money, and while people download your ads. The problem is these sites didn't vet what ads they were using, and you often got a wee bit of sided malware with your Sims downloads. So, a bit of fun. But however, these incidents I'm about to discuss with you are totally new for the Sims community to deal with. There are several instances of these new malware instances throughout 2024 and even in 2025. That's 2025 is kind of like a bit of a footnote. We're mostly discussing the first three things in the timeline here. So the first incident occurred around January and February 2024. Several famous modders, known MPS Sims, had their TSR on their fan site accounts compromised by a known attacker, who then proceeded to upload updated versions of several existing mods uploaded to the community, contain malware within its TS4 script file, which I'll soon talk about. Don't worry, that's what you're here for. It's important to note that MPS Sims was relatively active during the time, and they're a very popular modder with. I'm not going to. I don't think my dyscalculia would let me say all that numbers, but it's quite big. So, yeah, you see they're really popular modder. It's important to note that they're very active, and they upload regular TSR to some source, making it unlikely that anyone would have suspected that their mods were compromised until it was too late. There's also instances occurring at the same time by the same attackers, create a new account in fan site Mod The Sims that I mentioned earlier, trying to impersonate the modder Pimp My Sims 4. Would you guess what the account was called? Pimp My Sims, so it was kind of like off by one error. I would make that programmer joke, but I can't remember it right now, so you'll have to deal with that. So it looked very similar to the real modder's name. With that new account, they did a similar tactic to what they did with the compromised accounts by uploading a supposedly updated mod, the cult mod, which then again claimed malware. At the time, Pimp My Sims 4 wasn't active since 2022, according to Patreon, which was last updated in August of 2024. Not even mentioning the malware, just like, hey guys, sorry, I'm away, what's happened? And it's also important to note that this modder did not usually upload to Mod The Sims, instead preferring to use Tumblr and Patreon. It's not completely under a question for modders to switch up where they upload their mods to. I've certainly switched up where I upload my mod to. Like, I've switched from LiveJournal to Streamwave to Tumblr, but still very suspicious where after being active over a year, they upload to a totally new site. I probably could see why people get tricked. Be like, oh, flip, they're back, happy days, and they're uploading to a new site, let's go. But that's, if that wasn't enough, the same attacker also created new accounts on the website CurseForge. Again, very popular modding website for not just Sims 4, but for other games as well. Completely unlinked to other modders. They upload one of the same compromise mods that they uploaded during the compromise of MQS Sims, including stolen images from the same modder, which, props for being lazy, I guess. This is probably the least likely way to fool people. If they recognised stolen images from a new user, they probably wouldn't download it and would hopefully report it, but you never know. Compromise mods were also uploaded to NSW mod sites, which I'm not going to link here because it's a bit too hot for BSides. Alright. The attackers, you can see here, the attackers tried to hit a wide range of targets here, from compromising known and trusted accounts, from just creating a couple of full-way accounts and crawling it a day. So the same incident, this other incident occurred in the same method of attack in November of 2024, where two creators, Twisted Maxi, you will notice them later, and Moxie Mason had their mod systems accounts compromised. Again, known attacker. We're not too sure if it's the same attacker, but the same method of malware, it might be the same guy. Instead of using our existing TS4 script to spread malware, they decided to create their own and decided to be a wee bit original and just snuck it in the TS4 script files. Which you opened up, if you unzip those, you'd be like, oh, that's a wee bit sus. Why is there new files here? But modders add new files all the time, so it might not really stick out. Again, it's also important to note that these accounts were both effectively abandoned. If you see the wee tumbleweed there, with Twisted Maxi, their last proper upload was in 2018. And Moxie Mason, if you believe it, and then the glorious year of 2012, sorry. If you can see here, Twisted Maxi even had a note on their account saying, I'm not going to upload here anymore. Please go to my website, my Patreon. And, yeah. So there's also another incident, if I go back here, the very last bit, where the guy was like, right, I've had enough of writing Python. I'm just going to stick an exe file and some downloads and hope people click it. If I was being charitable, I would say brazen. I'm not going to be charitable because, as we'll see here, the code's awful. So I'm just going to say lazy. So now that we've went over the main incidents, we're going to show you the malware. And as you can see here, 24 lines or so of code that caused a wild lot of panic within the Sims 4 community. I showed this file to my friend who does red teaming engagements, and he writes malware sometimes legally. Because I've never really written Windows malware. I've only written like Mac OS malware as a joke, and it's never been deployed anywhere. So don't worry, I'm not doing anything illegal. I say this. So, as you can see here, we create a temp directory. We create a bat file that brings back some memories of glorious old YouTube videos back in the glorious year of 2009 with what copyright-free music. And you make it echo like I'm a scary virus. It's giving those vibes. It opens the bat file. Downloads something really cool, an infostealer from Discord of all places, writes it and then executes it with a subprocess, hides the window, and then and the rest of that code is from the mod itself. So they got really lazy and kind of stuck it on top of the mod. I don't want to be too harsh to him or them, but it kind of looks like baby's first malware. You're not really supposed to leave any trace of your malware. I think that's malware 101. But it makes it really, really easy to detect by any competent EDR or antivirus. And, one of the first things that this malware does is create a batch file of all things to download the Redline infostealer. And, I was asking my friend, like, hey, if you were to write this, what would you do? And, if the original malware guys watching this, here's some top tips. Get good. So if you're going to write Windows malware, you might want to take a bit more of a stealthier approach, rather than just barging in and creating script files or something like that, or bat files, sorry. But, creating a DLL that's loaded by trust.exe, like Sims 4, that would probably be a bit more stealthier. That approach is what the attacker went for. As I said, really easy for any competent antivirus to detect. The infostealer I mentioned was most likely Redline. As you can see here, there's a parrot infostealer stealing some credit cards. God love him. Basically, this guy can be arsed for calling his own infostealer and just bought one off the dark web. Fair play to him. Mostly stole safe credit cards from browsers, passwords, Steam info as well, in case he got bored and wanted to shop the Steam summer sale, and crypto wallets as well, because we can't have malware these days without stealing some crypto. Am I right? at least he tried, I guess. Um, this attack could have been a lot worse if it was a bit more sophisticated. If, like, they had obscured a wee bit. Or, if, I'm not saying nation state or APTs are going to steal stuff using Sims 4 mods. I don't think North Korea is, like, putting up Sims 4 and be like, oh yeah, I'm about to steal some grids. Some crypto here, lads. But, it's very amateur, a bit of a script kiddie. And in the end, he basically gave up and put exe files in downloads and hoping people would click on it. So he kind of gave up there. So, fair play him, I guess. But, even through this malware is awful and stuff, it did cause a lot of panic within the Sims 4 community. I found a post here on the Sims Reddit. Basically, as I said before, not very technically compliment. Like, they're saying, I don't know much about computers here. But, like, people were panicking. Like, it's like, is it safe to download any mods anymore? Is it safe to, like, even cosmetics mods who would not have this, they were panicking. It's like, it's not great. And, like, they were even panicking for games that weren't even attacked at all, like for Sims 2 and 3. And people also worried that these fan sites, the mod Sims, were now unsafe to download from at all. To these fan site credit, they implement countermeasures such as vetting new uploaders and inactive uploaders. And several fan sites, including the Sims stores, have stopped the upload of script mods in the wake of these incidents temporarily to stop these attackers from uploading more of infected CS4 6 files. But there's a bright light here. In the midst of all this worry, the community rallied together and provided support for each other. Something the famously prayer-friendly, not money-grubbing EA did not do. As I mentioned, EA does not get involved in the modding community unless they do something very illegal, and this is no exception. The community, as you can see here, create posts like this on Reddit and other sites that aim to inform fellow members of affected downloads and any updates of the situation. This helped to calm down the panic a wee bit and helped answer any questions that people had. One of the very first response, and like there's also code responses as well, like antiviruses and removers. One of the first responses to these malware incidents occurred on February 2024, again after the first attacks, where the owners of CurseForge over Wolf created a remover of the malware written in C++. I would probably liken this to medicine rather than prevention. I've actually included a picture of some of the code. I've never done C++ before. I got told not to do it, so but it's certainly some C++ code, am I right? Attempts to find the malware files and then notifies users of does, as well as moving this malicious file. The second response attempted to remove the malware was created again in February 2024 by the owners of Mexi. You might remember them from the November 2024 incident. Maybe the malware quote-unquote dev wanted to get a wee bit of a payback against them. So as you can see here, it was in Python format. So I had to use Pylingual to decode it. So I do apologise if it looks a bit messy. I blame Pylingual, not me. So as you can see here, we have a list of prohibited items. And if it takes certain files that are, these are actually obfuscated using, I think it's like a ASCII shift thing. It basically checks for these strings here. It unfortunately does not check for obfuscated strings, so if the attacker, got a wee bit good, I guess, obfuscated the strings, I probably wouldn't detect this, but still, it's very, very impressive. It checks for stuff like BAT and Discord.com app attachments, and those are familiar, those are the strings that we've seen before in the malware. And if those strings are detected, it alerts the user to the infected mods, and we're also preventing the file path for quick removal by the user. It also reports back to the malware's website for further recording. And they also, they purposely did this, perfectly obfuscated it, and purposely put it in pwd files, in order to prevent the attacker from trying to avoid or get past it. But, it's only a very, very simple ASCII shift, only shifting by one. I think the attacker, with their skills, even I could do better, and I'm horrible at coding. I would probably get put off by this amount of obfuscation. But I think a more advanced attacker would probably get around this a wee bit easier, but still very, very impressive that they managed to create their own antivirus, and it runs within the game as well, which is pretty cool. So to summarise what I talked about, the community came together to protect themselves against this new way of malware and did what EA couldn't do, essentially. Given these attackers in time gave up their attempts to spread malware through CS4 script files and just dumped an exe file in zips to get people to click them, I think they did a pretty good job. And on that note, oh yes, and I forgot to show this, I'm so sorry. This is basically like the length and breadth of EA responding to mods. As you can see, it's not very much. So I want to end this off with a wee thank you. Special thanks to Matt, Ramon, Dean, Ryan from Everquote's SecEng team, and Tim, David, and Daniel, also from Everquote, for your help and putting up with me. BSides Belfast crew for selecting this talk. Thanks for letting the buck agent like me speak. Grant for teaching me Windows malware. Check out his talk straight after this one. It's probably a lot better than this one. And yourselves, thank you so much for coming. And any questions?
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Okay, so we are here for Grant Colgan's talk, One Click, Purple, Teaming and Other Lies We Tell.